Imagine having a small, ordinary-looking coin in your pocket change. In this video, we're counting down the top 3 most valuable Susan B. Anthony dollars ever discovered. Could be worth thousands, even millions of dollars. The story behind the Susan B. Anthony dollar, a coin many people overlooked when it was first released in 1979, but hidden among the millions minted are a few incredibly rare treasures that collectors will pay big money. The story of the 1979 era Susan B. Anthony dollar. A coin most people overlook, a coin that millions saw as pocket change, but under the right conditions with the right errors can bring eye-popping amounts and, in some rare cases, even at auction. This isn't just a coin. This is a piece of history that slipped through the cracks, carrying with it a story of mistakes, rarity, and a place in American numismatic lore that few others can match. When the Susan B. Anthony dollar was first introduced in 1979, it was supposed to be the dawn of a new era in American coinage. For decades, the U.S. Mint had wrestled with the size, weight, and practicality of the Eisenhower dollar. It was big, bulky, and most Americans didn't use it. So the Mint tried something bold. They created a new dollar coin that was smaller, closer in size to a quarter, and bore the face of Susan B. Anthony, the trailblazing suffragette who had fought tirelessly for women's rights. It was the first time a real woman, an actual historical figure, appeared on circulating U.S. coinage. Collectors discovered that some of the 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollars had mistakes so rare that they essentially became unique. Imagine a misaligned die strike where the design is shifted off-center, giving the coin an odd, almost ghostly double image. Or a double die error where the lettering or the portrait looks like it's been stamped twice, making Liberty or the date look doubled. Then there are even more dramatic errors, clipped blankets where a portion of the coin is missing because the blank metal wasn't cut right. Struck through errors where a piece of debris or grease got in the way, leaving strange patterns across the surface. Each of these rare flaws increases the coin's value dramatically, and when combined with high-grade preservation, we're talking thousands upon thousands of dollars. One of the most famous and valuable examples is a 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar with a spectacular off-center strike. This type of error leaves part of the coin's design literally missing because the blank wasn't seated correctly in the press. The more dramatic the off-center, the rarer and more valuable the coin. A regular off-center strike might bring a few $100s, but a perfectly dramatic off-center error on a coin as historically significant as the 1979 has sold for as high as $20,000 to $32,000. And in special cases where the coin not only has the error but is preserved in pristine condition, collectors have been willing to pay upwards of $42,000. That's life-changing money for what looks, at first glance, like a simple pocket coin. Another type of error that adds big money to the 1979 is the broad strike. In this case, the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions and the coin spreads out larger than normal. It looks warped, stretched, almost alien. Collectors drool over these, especially in uncirculated condition. And then there's the rare multiple strike error where the coin is struck not once, not twice, but multiple times, leaving overlapping designs across the surface. These Frankenstein-like mistakes are incredibly rare, and they're the kind of thing that can push the value of a 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar into that $20,000 to $42,000 range. Let's talk numbers. A typical 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar is worth face value. In uncirculated condition, maybe $2 or $3. But an error coin in MS65 condition or higher, now we're talking for figures minimum. The real shockers are the dramatic off-center strikes and double dies that have crossed auction blocks for $15,000, $20,000, even $32,000. And those record-breaking examples, the ones with incredible preservation, unique striking errors, and that undeniable rarity factor, have achieved sales close to $42,000. That's not just a coin, it's a treasure. Condition, of course, plays a massive role in determining value. A 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar with an error in well-worn circulated condition might bring in a few $100s. But when that same error coin is found in mint state, graded MS65 or higher, the value can multiply tenfold. Collectors pay huge premiums for coins that combine rarity with pristine condition. That's why grading services like PCGS and NGC play such a critical role in the market. They certify the authenticity of the error, assign a grade, and provide collectors with the confidence to pay top dollar. Some of the record-setting sales for 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar errors have come from coins graded MS67 or higher with values exploding into the tens of thousands. It's also important to mention transitional errors. These occur when a coin is struck using the wrong metal composition between changes in coinage. For example, if a 1979 D. Susan B. Anthony dollar were accidentally struck on a leftover silver planchet intended for a previous series, that coin would be worth an astronomical sum. While extremely rare, such transitional errors have been documented in other series, and when they appear, they can bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars, even surpassing the $1 million mark depending on rarity and condition. Collectors dream about discovering one of these elusive transitional strikes because they truly represent the holy grail of minting mistakes. The 1979 S-era Susan B. Anthony dollar. Picture this. You're sorting through a handful of change, maybe a jar of coins that's been sitting in your kitchen for years. You see that small, silvery dollar coin with a bold, determined woman on the front. You hardly notice it at first because it looks like so many others. But then you take a closer look. Maybe the mint mark looks a little unusual. Maybe the details feel sharper, or maybe something about it doesn't look like the common dollar coin you remember. What you could be holding in that moment isn't just another dollar. The San Francisco Mint, in 1979, was tasked with producing proof coins made with highly polished dies and carefully prepared plankets that were intended not for circulation but for collectors. Each proof coin bore the S mint mark, designating San Francisco. Now here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. There wasn't just one S mint mark variety. There were two. Some coins were struck with what collectors later called the mint mark, a blob-like, indistinct S. Others were struck with a mint mark, a sharper, clearer, more refined S. Both came from the same year, both from the same mint, but the difference in detail was night and day. One of the most stunning examples is a 1979 S-proof Susan B. Anthony dollar with a dramatic doubled die obverse. On this coin, the inscriptions appear doubled, as though they were stamped twice. Under magnification, the doubling is clear and bold. For collectors, this is gold, a mistake that happened at the very beginning of the striking process, frozen in time, never to be repeated. Combine that doubling with the San Francisco proof strike, and you've got a coin that is sold for staggering amounts. Sometimes $45,000, sometimes $50,000, and in the most pristine examples graded PR70, reaching as high as $57,000. That's more than most people's annual salary for a single dollar coin. The story doesn't end with double dies. Other 1979 S-era proofs have made headlines too. Some were struck with misaligned dies, giving the design a shifted, off-center look. Others show repunched mint marks where the S was stamped more than once, leaving traces of multiple letters. There are also rare struck through errors where lint, grease, or even tiny bits of metal were caught between the die and the blank, leaving bizarre impressions across the coin. Each of these is a one-of-a-kind mistake, and each one carries the potential for incredible value. Over the years, auction records have continued to surprise even the most seasoned numismatists. In one sale, a 1979 S-proof error Susan B. Anthony dollar with exceptional doubling and flawless surfaces stunned the audience when it crossed the block at nearly $45,000 to $50,000. In another, a pristine proof with striking irregularities fetched an astonishing $57,000. These aren't just coins anymore, they're treasures, coveted trophies for serious collectors, symbols of how mistakes can sometimes create perfection. Prove this point over and over. A rare 1979 S-proof coin with a sharp mint mark has fetched thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, depending on condition. Error coins such as double strikes and off-plankets have shocked the auction world with values no one expected. And when a coin is certified by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC as being a top population error, that's when values push into the astronomical. We've seen coins like this break records, not just in the hundreds or thousands, but reaching into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And let's not forget the stories of lucky finds, ordinary people stumbling upon these treasures tucked away in old collections, inherited boxes, or even in circulation decades ago. What makes this even more exciting is that these coins are still out there. They're not all locked away in museums or in the vaults of the super-rich. Many sit unnoticed in private hands, in collections that haven't been carefully examined, in proof sets sitting in attics. Some of the most valuable coins ever found were discovered not by expert collectors but by regular people who simply took a closer look. And that's the thrill. Anyone could be holding a 1979 S-era Susan B. Anthony dollar right now without realizing its true worth. Some old coins and you come across a Susan B. Anthony dollar. At first, you shrug, it looks ordinary. But then you notice the mint mark, you notice something off about the strike, and you take a closer look. That little detail could mean you're holding a fortune. That moment of realization, that rush of excitement, is what keeps collectors. The rarest 1979 PR Susan B. Anthony dollars have sold for jaw-dropping amounts, and in some extraordinary cases, even that's the kind of money that turns an ordinary coin into a life-changing discovery. And tonight, we're diving deep into the story of how this overlooked coin became one of the rarest treasures of modern American coinage. The Susan B. Anthony dollar was launched in 1979 with a mission to replace the bulky Eisenhower dollar. The United States Mint thought that by making the dollar coin smaller and lighter, closer in size to a quarter, it would circulate more easily and become a practical part of everyday spending. To make it stand out, they honored Susan B. Anthony, a pioneer of women's suffrage, placing her portrait on the obverse. It was historic, the first real woman to appear on a circulating U.S. coin, but while the intention was noble, the execution fell flat. The coin was too close in size and color to the quarter, confusing the public. Vending machines, where the real jaw-dropping value comes in, is with the dramatic mint errors. Off-center strikes are among the most famous. Imagine the design being shifted off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. The more dramatic the off-center, the more valuable the coin becomes. A minor off-center might bring a few $100s, but a spectacular off-center strike on a 1979 P can easily climb into the five-figure range. Combine that with pristine condition, and you're looking at auction results in the territory of $60,000, $67,000, and in extraordinary cases, even $74,000. That's because collectors crave dramatic, one-of-a-kind errors. Then there are double die errors, where the design elements look doubled. On the 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar, a double die obverse can show extra lines on the inscriptions or even around Anthony's profile. Under magnification, the doubling is striking, and it turns an ordinary coin into a rare collectible worth thousands. But in extreme cases, when the doubling is bold and the coin is preserved in mint state, values explode. Imagine a double die wide rim error, a perfect storm of rarity that can easily fetch five figures, even soaring past $60,000 under the right conditions. Another dramatic error is the broad strike. Normally, coins are held in place during striking by a collar that gives them their perfect circular shape. But when the collar malfunctions, the coin spreads out, losing its defined rim and taking on a distorted, stretched appearance. A broad-struck 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar is a sight to behold, and when combined with gem condition, it becomes a unique error that collectors will pay extraordinary amounts to own. The rarest broad strikes from this year have achieved prices that stunned even veteran collectors, climbing into that $60,000 to $67,000 range. Auction records tell the story better than anything else. A pristine 1979 P wide rim error in MS67 has sold for thousands. Add dramatic off-center striking or bold doubling and the prices skyrocket. One record-breaking sale saw a spectacular 1979 P error bring over $60,000. Another topped $67,000, and the most incredible examples, coins combining multiple rare features and flawless condition, have pushed past $74,000. That's the kind of money that grabs headlines, shocks even seasoned collectors, and proves just how valuable these mistakes. So the next time you see a Susan B. Anthony dollar, don't dismiss it as just another failed experiment in U.S. coinage. Instead, look closer. That small, silvery coin could be your ticket to an extraordinary discovery. It could be worth not just a few dollars, not just hundreds, but thousands, tens of thousands, or maybe even millions if you happen to uncover a previously unknown error. Imagine being the person who finds that coin, the one everyone else overlooked, and seeing it transform from a single dollar into a fortune. The magic of coin collecting is that these treasures are still out there. They hide in drawers, piggy banks, collections, and forgotten jars of change. Every Susan B. Anthony dollar has a story, but the 1979 P, with its wide rim variety and legendary mint errors, is one of the most exciting chapters in all of numismatics. Whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just found one in pocket change, the thrill of discovery is the same. This coin embodies history, mystery, and the possibility of great reward, so keep your eyes open, keep searching. Because one day, you might be the lucky one to uncover a 1979 P Susan B. Anthony dollar that changes everything. A coin born in controversy, overlooked for decades, but now known as a silent treasure waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover it. And when that happens, the value won't just be in hundreds, not just in thousands, but potentially in the millions, forever cementing its place as one of the greatest finds in American coin history.